The beats, the flow, the rhythm, all movement starts from the streets. Streets A&R Podcast. Listen, we make it do what it do with the resources we got.
Hey man, shit, it works.
No, it's half the stuff. People be like, I need better mics. Like, no, you need to learn how to EQ.
Yeah, I mean, dude, I can go so deep in microphone talk. I've learned, fucking amount of microphones I've used in my life. It's like a lot of people don't even know. Like, I tell people when they're like, I'm starting a podcast, should I buy 5 SM7s? I'm like, no, just get 5 SM58s. And they're like, well, what's the difference? I'm like, there's no difference. Like, literally, they all have the same capsule. Mm-hmm. It's just like the body changes, and the fact that like SM7 has a few features where you can like roll off low end and change like just like the frequency response. But ideally, it's the same technology. Even in the 57s too. Like, it's all the same shit. But 57s, they put on drums and like snare drums, and sometimes like people use them for vocals. And the only reason why the 58 is because it has the cap on top with the little like pop filter, and people use that to sing in and stuff. So it's like the cardioid pattern is different, but it's like all the same shit. Just different price points, you know?
Right. People automatically think, oh, I need the best of the best, but don't know how to judge what's best or why one is priced at a certain price versus another thing. And you start learning that when you start to do things and getting in equipment and trying to really figure out, all right, is this actually better or worse? Like, headphones is always a big one, but like I was talking to a guy probably at a Guitar Center, or I was over at Rainbow probably talking to Vince. He's like, people getting headphones and like everybody want beats, and it's like all they do is put a weight in the ears and make it seem like it's heavy, and they turn up the highs and lows. Not actually a crisper headphone. It's just they EQ'd up so high on the high and lows that it's just loud. It's
loud, and those headphones are actually very deceiving. Like, I don't own a pair. When I tried them out, I was like, these sound really good if I was on the train just trying to enjoy some music. But like DJing or creating music, especially like producing music, or if you're trying to be an engineer or something, I would never recommend trying to engineer with those, because you're going to go listen to it in your car, and then like the bass is crazy and like everything is just out of whack, and you're like, why does this sound so bad everywhere else except my beats? It's like, because your beats are designed to have a scoop, it's like everything's scooped, and lows and highs are crazy. But headphone tech, like, as we age through time and technology has technology gotten cheaper, it's really just about materials and reliability. Like, the headphones we all have on now are perfectly fine for what we're doing. Or even in like like if you're in a studio tracking, like recording, like perfectly fine. You don't need a $900 pair of blue headphones to like get the job done. Those are for like people that like listen to the records at home and they want the true audiophile experience, It's kind of crazy, but
like, you trying to hear the metronome, my G? You don't need $900. Like, calm down.
I am the kind of bougie person that spends a lot of money on headphones. And like I'm looking at in-ear monitors right now. I was looking at some JHSs, and they're like $5,000. But that's because it's, they have 12, 14 drivers in them, and like all the tech stuff aside, it's like they sound amazing and they mold to my ear, and I'm going to have them for the next 10, 15 years, maybe 20 years. Like, if I stretch it out that long, and they're just like amazing in-ears. And like, when you start performing and touring, like, or even as a DJ, it's like you got to protect your hearing, and those like take the life out of everything outside your ear. It's like you can't hear nothing but the sound and the music. So then you got to turn it up as high. You got to rely on pushing like this, and you don't need to listen to music loud. That's why I'll see cats out at clubs, and like I'll be going B2B DJing with somebody, and like they pass in their headphones, and I can like hear the music blasting out of the headphones. I'm like, yo, you're gonna be deaf by the time you're like 40. It's a wrap. Like, my shit is always just super low. I was even doing a gig yesterday. Another DJ came up to me. I was like, She was like, yo, you need to turn up your booth monitor. It's so quiet. I'm like, I can hear it perfectly fine. It's fine with me. She goes, but don't you like to feel it? And I'm like, nah, that's for y'all. Like, it's loud out there. It doesn't need to be loud up here.
Right.
My ears make me money. I got to preserve them, you know. It's like being an athlete, you know. It's like you're not supposed to run 20 miles every single day. You got to take at least a couple of days of break, but you also like pace yourself, you know. You just sprint, walk, you know.
Yes, sir.
You know.
Yeah, so. Man. Looks like we rocking and rolling, huh, young God?
Yeah.
So, man, we up in here. Well, I always feel like forever when it just be just a little bit of time.
Man.
It feel like forever. My hair done undid, my braids. My lineup is gone. I'm almost back in rough season, and we ain't even been gone that long. I was just cute. I'm still cute. Shut your ass up. Since y'all didn't want to say nothing, I was like, yeah, you was cute. It only wasn't me, nigga. I heard you without talking, nigga.
This nigga.
Man, it's a good day. You know, we always like to say, I don't know how I say it, but it is.
Man.
We here, so it's a good day.
For sure.
Young God in the building, man. Fresh off of New Orleans. Ain't see Zion. Zion was hiding in the restaurants.
Hard on Zion.
That's my guy.
Man,
fresh off a New Orleans trip, man, and busy weekends, man. I done DJ'd a wedding and feel like it was something. Oh man, I had my first something else event.
Okay.
Yeah, something else, man. It was something else.
Man.
I love the wordplay that I created. That's just fun. I better trademark it before I guest do it because I know he gonna do it just because. Nah, I'm playing. We got Johnny, how you doing?
Man, listen, bro. We ain't gonna talk about that on air. I'm cool, man. We moving forward, bro.
Moving forward, man.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. But man, we got a good another special guest. Somebody that y'all may not know. My man's got hella credits out here in the music industry. A silent assassin with working with top artists that kind of sneak in, pop up at the studio, call him up, and sneak on out of here. Caught one of them at the gym one time. But my man has got doing big things. We're going to talk about some of those things he's doing. DJ, engineer, producer, curator, lead, I don't even know what to call it. He run the music. How about that? He run the sounds. Whatever it is in that environment, that's what he's doing. He's behind whatever board is a board in that place.
Yeah.
We got my guy, man, Kethro in the house, man.
Peace. That's good.
So yeah, man, we got to start first, man. I ain't gonna give you a government, but is Kethro just pieces of your name?
Yeah.
Or what is? Okay.
Yeah. Like, funny story. I was with my homie playing Xbox, and he's like, you got to make a gamer tag to play. I'm like, I don't know what that is. He's like, yeah, just make a gamer tag, like something cool. I was like, all right. So I just put my first and last name, cut it up, put in Kethro. And the more I saw it, I was like, yeah, that's probably going to be the alias that I use for the rest of my life. I think that is going to be the main one.
Man.
Yeah,
I might be the only dumbass that put one of my real names in my name, but it works though.
Nah, that's fine. Yeah, that's fine.
But yeah, man, Kethro, man, just give a quick about what you do, how you got started, and all the things you do. You know, just from the sound standpoint.
Yeah,
and just let the folks know what you've been doing, how you started.
Yeah, story's pretty wild. I grew up in a household that was very like musical, you know, no like musicians, but just avid fans of music. And my mother was a teenager when she created me, gave birth to me. So I watched a young woman grow up, and I think it was a blessing because she was always digging for really amazing records and just exposing me to really great music. And she never left anything off the table and was always trying to educate me on that. So that was the start. That's when I knew it was like, there's something great about this, and I want to be a part of it in some capacity. And she always knew like DJs and musicians, and always surrounded by creative types. So I was like, always exposed to that. She had friends that would take me to the music store, basically like they're my babysitters, they would just take me to the music store while they go shop for guitars or whatever. And I would just run around and mess with all the gear and try to figure out like what I liked. And yeah, so from that, I like picked up all these things. And, I took music lessons when I was like 12, 13. I was like taking DJ lessons and bass guitar lessons at the same time because I wanted to do it all, and I just like been obsessed with it ever since, but I think as I got older, I learned a lot about the industry, how it navigates, and like what my place is in it is. And I learned that I'm like way better at making stuff sound better or good or whatever people want than actually like being a creator. Mm-hmm. And I still create every day, but I noticed people were like needed me more for this other thing. And so that's kind of like where the engineering aspect started. So I started like recording people's records like everybody else in the bedroom, got the closet you set up, got your microphone, and I was buying up beat machines, and I learned how to program and sequence beats. And so like people would come over to, I would just help them out with that. They're like, yo, I need, I want to sample this record and make this beat. I'm like, okay, just do that real quick for them. They run out. They got their album or EP or whatever. But I was also playing in bands and just doing all that stuff. So it just like always evolved and, rolled out. And I think just over time though, I was try to surround myself with individuals that were way smarter than me in certain aspects, whether it was DJing or engineering or producing. And so I always found myself in these environments where I was learning very deep level technical knowledge of these things. And I fell in love with the engineering side of things. Like that's where I felt like my passion was. And I loved being like in the studio, or I loved like when I was at concerts, I would always stand by the engineer mixing the show because I knew like whatever he or she is doing is like, that's the best spot you're going to hear, like not in the front or way in the back. I'm like, nah, I'm going to be right next to the engineer. And I was always just watch and observe. And I'm like, these are the real like wizards. These are the people that are making this like whole thing like magical and making people have these emotional reactions. So yeah, just like from there, it's like through my teens and my 20s, I've always like found myself just like living when I wasn't like touring, I was like living in a studio environment, just like full force, just like trying to work with as many people as possible and learning from them and with them and how to create like the best records possible, the best projects possible. And it's like I'm still learning all this stuff, it's like a nonstop train. But then through that, it's do a bunch of other stuff too, but it's just like part of being in the music industry. I feel like if you work in the music industry, you can't just do one thing, like you got to be 10 things, right. To like, you have to like learn how to use Photoshop, even though it has nothing to do with music, but you got to learn it, And some people are really good at it. Others are not so much, like myself. Like I'm not a visual person. You ask me to make a flyer, it's going to look like crap. It's going to be horrible. But yeah, that's pretty much like my whole trajectory in a nutshell. Like, yeah, started very young and I'm just still like building that up. And
so when you mentioned touring, when you were you touring as a part of a band, or what were you touring as? And then what's something kind of like from touring you learned through that process?
Yeah, so like I started touring with as like a stage manager / monitor engineer for a band for a while, and that was like for 5 years. And I learned a lot because it was like my first official tour, and it was like in a bus, and it's like everybody's dream. You're in a bus, you travel in the country and touring the world or whatever, and like it was a huge like learning curve. There's a lot of like things that you gotta learn about like being on the road, and one is like don't blow all your money super fast. Like I love like fashion and stuff, so, and I don't like shopping in our state for clothes, I just gotta admit. So when I'm in Chicago, I'm in Michigan Ave, and I'm spending my per diem money on like clothes and shit, and like, excuse my language.
Oh, you good?
But like, yeah, like there's like all those little things, like, but just being on the road and touring, like, I definitely say it makes you very hyper aware on like how the world works, but also on like a musical standpoint, you really learn what different markets of people really love. And even though I toured with the same band over and over, I met so many people that do different things because they like that band too. And these people, or some of them are like extremely famous and popular, and other people are background people like me, or, just like all these different types of individuals. And they're always like they always taught me like very unique things about their markets and their place in the industry. And so I'd always come back with this wealth of knowledge and realize like, okay, the way I've been operating as a local needs to change. Like, and I'm going to always operate on a global mindset. Like, what does the globe want? Instead of like trying to impress the group of people at the venue down the street, how do I like get this to like somebody in, Cape Town to like love, or in Tokyo, or in Berlin, that's going to like change their life, because those people like they enjoy different things than what we do here. And I didn't know that as a kid. I thought we have the internet, everybody's into the same thing, but no, there's like cultural norms in all these different cities, especially even in the United States. Like Kansas City is drastically different from Omaha when it comes to certain things like jazz music and stuff like that, So when I'm down there, like connecting with the jazz musicians, like I learned how to speak and I learned how to like make them sound better just by being around them, because they like things a certain way. They like to swing shit a certain way. They like to, like, their drums don't have to sound like hip hop drums. Like, they dial it back, or whatever. But like the jazz cats in California, they're a lot different. Like heavy synths, like everything's gotta like, it's like your car speakers have to explode. Like they gotta make you like do this, it's like weird, So like touring is like, even like the mixes would change every show. Because people like would perceive, like watching the band, like they're used to hearing things a certain way, and like so like in the West Coast you want it to dump. In the East Coast you kind of want things to like sound a little bit different. Like it's just weird. I don't know. And when you get in arenas it's different, but like in venues like 2,000 people or less, or 5,000 people or less, yeah, you can make those like adjustments because people just react differently. Yeah. So.
Man, that's funny. That's cool though. That's definitely cool. And I mean, we hear it with different styles of music, but the intricacies of hearing that with the same music, how it has to hit different based on where you're at. Yeah. Being somewhere like somebody like we're in Omaha, and this is, some people call it, and like even myself, like this is like a test ground. Like you just kind of get whatever off and see how things move or make, and kind of take a lot of stuff with a grain of salt here. When you talk about being here in Omaha, when you are doing gigs, whether DJing and stuff, do you find yourself more so being experimental, or more so trying to play to a crowd, or do you find yourself, especially as a DJ, do you find yourself doing Kethro? I'm gonna be Kethro, not trying to play whatever is maybe popular or hot, but how do you balance that? Like, what do you do, and do you balance it, or how do you go about these gigs?
Yeah, it's all balance. Like, I think when I was taking lessons as a kid in the DJ realm, like I always like gotta first and foremost say this, like DJing to me has always been a hobby, and it does, like on the outer perspective, or when people see me playing multiple gigs, they think it's a job, but it's not. Like, I can quit any day. I have a job. I'm fine with that, Like, DJing is like, it's a love thing. And I always was taught from early age, it's like always ebb and flow with what the event or what the environment calls for, right? So if I'm playing an art gallery, I can be experimental. I can be Kethro, because it's nobody's there to, the purpose is just to fill the background or fill the space with the sound and a feel and a vibe. But if I'm at like a dance club, I have to play what the environment wants. And that requires research into understanding, what does Omaha like to listen to, And so, I'm sitting there trying to sometimes going out to these places and seeing other DJs take the risks and like figure out, oh yeah, like this song hits, this doesn't, blah, blah, blah. And I'll take those notes home and I'll work out my set like that. So it's always like a changing, and as a kid, like I always wanted to just be me and do me all the time. But I saw how with DJs that were older than me, that were doing it for a while, they stuck to their ground. Like I'm only a house DJ. I only play house music. And like I saw that backfire on them so many times where they would play a gig and the people are like, we don't, like, can you play something else? And they don't have that other thing, or they get upset or angry. And I never wanted to be that guy. Like I was just like, I'll do whatever it calls for. And if I know what the gig is ahead of time, like I'll just say no. Like if it's not me, we want only one type of music. And it just so happens I'm not very well versed in that genre, that style, and I don't know the hits. Like I couldn't do a Bollywood party.
Right.
I just don't know those jams, but I'll go to the party because I like that music. So it's, it's always an ebb and flow thing. Like I always got to be malleable to the situation. Yeah. That's, and to all the DJs out there, like try to come in with that mindset. Even if you only enjoy doing one thing or playing one style or like a few different styles, just like try to be malleable to whatever that gig calls for. And if you find yourself stuck where it's like, oh, my environment only allows these types of gigs, well, you got to find a different environment. Maybe I always tell DJs, like, why can't I play techno in this city? I'm like, because the city isn't a techno city. Like it's not as respected here as it is in Detroit or in Los Angeles or New York or Chicago. So maybe you should go to those places and play those places and get into that realm. You'll be a lot more respected there, So
yeah, I often try to find a balance and still insert kind of the things that I like, in a gig. Like I tell people I could go to a club and do that. It's just not as enjoyable. So I decline many offers. Like, you want to play?
Yeah.
No, I don't. But if it's a place to where I know I can play some music that I know you probably don't know, that still fits in the mode though. I try to do that as much as I can. Like I'll take because I know me personally, I take an old school approach to DJing where I'm trying to either A, break records, or B, have something nobody else got.
Yeah.
So that's just old school. But in doing that, you got to know when to mash that bad boy in there.
Yep.
That don't kill the party, or know how to have an exit point within that first minute of that song to where you can get to have that next track ready just in case.
Yep.
But it's going, like, I'm going through those bumps and bruises and learning, like, all right, especially in places like here, new music or sometimes even just new music that's not on the radio or not on the urban radio can crash you if you don't know how to get in and out of these gigs with some of these gigs. So
that's truth. Even a song that may have 10 million plays, excuse me, a song that may have 10 million plays just doesn't hit in Nebraska or doesn't hit in the clubs here because people haven't absorbed it long enough. Whereas if you went to St. Louis, it's a hit there. Everybody's playing it, and it just hasn't reached all these other places yet. It's a very interesting thing. And I think when I was touring, that's what I was doing a lot. I would go to the after parties and stuff, and I would listen to what the DJs play, like in New Orleans or something. Like in New Orleans, you go to an after party, it's like bounce music, it's rap, it's like local hometown heroes. And I didn't know 75% of the artists. I'm sitting here with my iPhone, like, what song is this? What song is this? And just playlisting the whole time and my dream was I'd love to go home and play this, but Omaha isn't well versed in bounce music, so it's not going to resonate here. And it is as DJs, I feel like it's really wise for us to push that stuff though, because there is that good feeling when you play music that hasn't hit yet, and then it does hit. Like give it like 3-4 weeks, and then everybody else in town's playing it, and you're like internally, you're like, yo, I got
somebody Shazam.
Yeah. That was me. So sometimes I feel like I get real lucky with guessing like what the singles are going to be. And like that was with one example was like Hotline Bling, right? When that song came out, it was like kind of a slow rise here in Nebraska because I was DJing a lot, like 4 nights a week. And I just knew Hotline Bling I just knew it was gonna be a bop. Like the minute you heard a, Why Can't with Timmy Thomas sample, I was like, yeah, this song is already incredible. Sade did her version of it. This is Drake's time. He's doing it because he loves Sade. Like it's all in connection. It's gonna hit. It's gonna rock. And I remember just playing it. People like didn't get it. And then like a month went by, and it's playing on all the radios and all the, like Vine at the time. I think Vine was, or Instagram, whatever. Like it was in everybody's videos. So now I remember just watching the transformation of like week after week playing that song, and more people are like, just really feeling it. I'm like, yeah, I finally got you. I knew that was going to be the one,
Right.
I knew it like internally. And you can't tell nobody because nobody cares,
Right.
You can't get in the mic like, oh, no, first, but internally in my brain, I'm like screaming that, like, yeah, I knew it. Like,
no, I done told some people that shit. But
yeah.
even when I love Hotline Bling just because when Erykah Badu made her tape,
yeah,
and it was the same thing. So
yeah.
I would always play them at the same time or throw her piece in going back and forth, and people didn't know that Badu had a version out.
Yeah.
So it was like people say, "What the fuck?"
Yeah.
And then it was funny because I remember being back in college. I just literally commented on somebody's Facebook post because they put up an old video that was like a promo for a step show.
Yeah.
And then the ending song of the promo for the step show was "Not a Stain on Me" by Big Tuck. And people know in Ohio, I'm the reason. Put this on wax. I'm the reason that shit got up there.
Own it.
I'm from Texas.
Yeah.
So we had all the mixtapes, and when I would go home and I would come back, I always had tapes. So me and my homies would always pull up, and I would literally make sure we always pulled up to the parties with that.
Yeah.
And I remember a couple of DJs like, yo, what is that shit? What is that? Like, that shit hard.
Mm-hmm.
And I gave it to him. I was like, it's Not a Stain on Me, Big Tuck. It took about a year. Then I started hearing it on the radio. I'm like, did I do that? Hold on. Somebody, but I got it. I'm like, look, I got it directly to a couple DJs.
Yeah.
And they played at the party, and that song still rock to this day. That's one of the best club songs maybe ever made. If we really keep it in the bean. Not a Stain on Me by Big Tuck is a club banger. Johnny, you look at me like, that's a club rocker. And it's kind of like, especially South, Midwest, it's a club rocker. But I'm like, I think I did that. I don't have real proof, but I think I did that because that was back when radio was still local. You know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
And like you were talking about, like regional, like I'm from East Texas. Like I was right between Dallas and right between Louisiana. So we had at our parties, like it was literally all Dallas dance music and Louisiana bounce music. The whole party. Like you can go out down there and you would not hear nothing that's on mainstream radio, and the party would rock for 4 or 5 hours. And
wild. Like
people would go visit, like, yo, I didn't know nothing that was playing, but the club was going crazy the whole night. But that, that's the regional stuff. It's like still like today, going to the Bay.
Mm-hmm.
You go to the Bay, everybody know E40, but you don't know the Bay.
Yeah.
So you're gonna go to the Bay, it's gonna be you're gonna get jumped in on the music. Like, this is a real thing. Like,
yeah, like don't go to the Bay and play like the Pack. You're scratching the surface. You play Mac Dre, they're like, okay, cool, you got some swag, but then like you gotta start playing cat. Like, yeah, it's really like a family tree you gotta follow when you go to different cities, and it's always really tricky. Every time I've played DJ'd in a different city, I spend extreme amounts of time researching the culture, the history. And that's why I feel like I've learned so much about this world. It's like, that's what I love doing. And it's like, because there's DJs that produce all their own music and they tour the world and they're loved for that. But as cats like you and myself, like we're playing a lot of other people's music. Mm-hmm. So we got to play what the environment calls for. And it sometimes is a very tricky slope. And you'd be surprised too. Like I remember I was with this group, Tuxedo. We did a tour in Japan, 2018. Mm-hmm. And like the first night we got there, they did this club called Visions. And like they weren't playing, like I expected them to play like hot Japanese tracks, like tracks hot. Nah, they played all like West Coast boogie funk, like what they knew. And it was like the crowd was very receptive and they were just into it because it was that's what they wanted. They didn't want to hear what they hear every day. They just wanted that like hard, just like, and you can see them like it's a different thing, like they're trying to learn the swing and stuff. I was really into that. I was like, yo, this is amazing. These people are incredible. So yeah, it does surprise you sometimes when you can expose different crowds and stuff and they are receptive, but it may only happen in like places where it's like completely foreign or opposite to where we're coming from. They know we're from the States. They know that we're bringing this sound to them. So that's what they're paying to experience. Whereas like in the United States, you're like, yeah, I'm coming from Nebraska. Like, okay, what do you know about Louisiana? Like it's like a test, it's really weird environment. Yeah.
I think the only workaround is when you have let it be known that you're not going to do the status quo.
Yeah.
And that way people know, like, again, they just know what they're getting into.
Yeah.
Or they know they don't know what they're getting into. So they're more, the people there are already receptive, whatever you're going to bring.
Yeah.
But that's what I said. Like, that's why I tell people, be wary. Like, you all want to DJ a club? Okay, that is a certain type of environment.
Yeah.
You can't just go do anything at a club. You might can at some of the concert festival stages.
Yeah.
You might. That's a big might. That's if they know you for doing that and if you prep them for that.
Yeah.
So it varies, time.
I gotta thank you, man. Cause sometimes like you'd be playing tracks that I worked on. Like, the Jadena record, like you played that out so much. And like you were one of the few DJs that like picked up on it without me like giving you the record or asking. Like usually like I always like try to slide DJs advanced copies and like, yo, play this in the club. But like I remember I showed up to gigs and you'd be playing like deep cuts off the record just as a fan. So thank you for that, man.
Welcome. And I played Jay Prince as well.
Yeah, Jay Prince. Yeah. And like, it's just a good feeling because like, I know you're listening as a fan and like when I've been there, it's just nice to hear that something I've worked really hard on. It's like, be played out and just I can sit back and watch people and watch them react to it and it's just a nice feeling. Like it's like, yo, okay, cool. People are like into this. They're dancing, like, yo, taking videos and sending it to the artists and stuff. Like, yo, this is what's happening in Omaha. Like I didn't even tell this cat to play the song. Like this is happening. You got to come back. Yeah. So thank you for that, man. No problem, I appreciate that, man. You're a fan.
I try to do what I can. I tell people if I like it, I get into that. I'm gonna make sure I throw it in. I don't work for a station, so I don't gotta play shit. Which means I get to play whatever I want. Yeah, for the most part. So yeah, man. You got any?
Man, I'm just sitting back observing, listening. It's one of those episodes, man.
Yeah. Just a quick pivot. I know you do a lot of things, and even before we even started recording, you were talking about some of your other roles, and one of them being like working with Omaha Fashion Week. Yeah. So, and what is your role with that, and kind of what does that entail for the people?
Yeah, I was randomly asked to participate because they were looking for a music director, and somebody is like, I've always really loved and enjoyed fashion. It's a big thing for me. Like I always felt like outside of music, my other art form of expression is through fabric, and I think it had a lot to do with like being a part of some groups and friends and people that just like always inspired me to dress the way I want or whatever. But yeah, when I got tapped to be music director, I didn't really know what the job like entailed. But I didn't even ask. They're like, we're looking for an MD. Can you come in? And usually MD to me is like you putting together 12-piece band, writing chords, structure. But I was like, for Fashion Week, what do I do? So I just said yes. I was like, yeah, I'll do it. Hopped in and just pretty much like made up my job, which literally consists of like programming music from the minute the doors open till they close. And it's a lot of work because I work with like 20 to 30 designers a year. And I usually sit down with them or communicate with them in some way about what their vision is and what their clothes are, and sometimes they don't know what exactly sounds to convey with their clothes. So it's like up to me to find that, or they have like a true vision and I'm helping them shape that. So I sit down, I make tons of mini mixes is what I call them, and just like, just roll these out with the designers and program all the whole vibe. So if you've been to Fashion Week in Omaha for the past like 6 years, that's definitely like 100% me. Just programming. And it's nice because that's the moment where I get to be experimental and get to be me, because I can sneak in a lot of stuff that I work on, like produce and the stuff I make. And that way I can hear it on a runway and hear how it works. And I've made music strictly for the runway. And or like some of the stuff I was working like hard in the studio on, just going super hard in the studio, and I got the demos, so I'm gonna put them in, program and not tell anybody, and curse word might slip through, whatever, So yeah, it's a cool gig. Like, I like it a lot. I would definitely love to explore other fashion weeks. I think the dream is Milan, Paris, Tokyo. And those jobs are far reach, but I've been building my time with them for so long, and I've learned a lot and met a lot of great people. So I think that's eventually I would like to participate and do that. Like, I want Benji B's job. You know what Benji B is? He's a cat in London. He has a BBC radio show in London. Amazing DJ, like incredible guy. And yeah, he just like is the music director for Louis Vuitton. And like every time it's like they give him these crazy budgets and he just like creates magic. And when he was working with Virgil a lot, he was putting together like, he'd get a band like Bad Bad Not Good and then just like have them score the whole fashion show. That's the dream. Yeah. Just like get your favorite artists in and just like cut records. Or he would get like, I want Sampha and I want Lil Sims and I want Arca, all coming in and making these like crazy sounds. Or I want Tom York to do like an acoustic cover of this. Like, all right, how much does that cost? 150,000. All right, cool. Here you go. It's just like, yeah, that's the kind of life I want. Just like big budgets to get like dope artists to do stuff.
So was he over getting? Wasn't that Kendrick? Was that Louis?
Yeah, Kendrick did the most recent Louis show, which is amazing. Like that for me, I watched it like 4 times. I just love, even some of the tracks are revised for that show. Like in '95, like the whole first half didn't have drums in it. Like it didn't even hit like till later. It's just like bass and gutter and just him just like, just like kicking it, next to Dave Free and Naomi Campbell. Like how iconic is that? It's crazy. That stuff's inspiring to me. It's a cool gig, I like it a lot. I didn't think I'd be doing it for so long, but it's just really fun, and they're giving me more creative freedom every year, so it's unique.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
With man, that's dope. I ain't gonna lie, 'cause some of those things line up with where I want to go as far as some of the ventures as well. Like just it's different things, whether it's with concerts or getting just in a set to do something specific. Yeah. But even just working like being a director for something and making it come to life sonically. Yeah. Or scoring a movie. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, I would love to score a movie with no real budget. You know what I'm saying? Like, give me a limitless budget. Yeah, that would be amazing. Shit out of this movie. Yeah. And if in a world where if everything was cleared, the soundtracks would probably be amazing. Yo, for real. Majority of, you hear like music supervisor roles, and even the music supervisors I've met, half of the battle is getting songs cleared. And it's wild how many artists say no, even to a nice budget. That's why you hear like these songs repeated so much through movies, like the same Rolling Stones song, is because they literally set it up to say like, a lawyer, say yes to everything, who cares? But then another band like Sigur Rós, like they make cinematic stuff, but like they say no a lot, like to every commercial. Like literally they started a website of every company that's ripped them off their whole sound because they say these companies hit us up, we said no, and they literally just hired somebody else to remake their songs, like reimagine their songs, and they had a whole website of stuff. So it's crazy. Like being a music supervisor is literally like half of it's just legal battle, but it's what a fun job. You just sit there and like try to find the right music for the right moments, like film. And working in film has definitely been the dream. Yeah, that's like, to me, that's pretty much what I'm going to be spending the next decade, like trying to work on and really move into. I really do think like visual and sonic arts coming together,
it's really like an interesting world to be in, and scoring, and I've been taking a lot of like classes on scoring and stuff. It's just a whole different atmosphere. But I've loved cinematic scores way more than like a lot of music coming out today, or just stuff that just ends up in shows. It just feels better to me. Maybe it's like a getting older thing. I don't know what it is, but I spend more time listening to OSTs than like actual records. Like it's kind of wild. And maybe that's just because like I'm studying it, but yeah, there's something to be said about it. They're very underrated. Like video game soundtracks too. Yeah. Like yo,
man, listen. Crazy. Hey, Madden NFL, please holler at your boy.
Yeah.
Y'all need some help.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, for real. I mean,
2K, they they doing their thing, but Madden boy, y'all. Hey, hit your boy up, man. I appreciate it. I'm one of the 12 people that still buy the game and play franchise mode, even though y'all don't update it like y'all need to.
Yeah.
Hey, man, because my little cousin on the game, so we rocking.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I would love to get in that room and just let me pitch it. Here's a list of songs. Now go get them cleared.
Yeah.
But man.
You know that like the best, like Take-Two Interactive did it the best with Grand Theft Auto. Like the way they found people like Flying Lotus. And they said, yo, you're the music supervisor for this radio show that we're curating in the video game. And go and make your favorites, like pick your favorite songs. And you like put everybody in there. Aphex Twin, Frank Ocean, Earl Sweatshirt, like Broadcast. Like all these like weird, obscure people that would never really be in video games otherwise. The fact that Aphex Twin even said yes is mind-blowing to me. That guy says no to everything, or at least to my knowledge.
That's probably the relationship with Flylo. So,
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like
it's the respect. Yeah. Or Alice Coltrane. Like you put an Alice Coltrane song in there. Like that's family, but like driving around, like shooting guns out of a car, listening to Alice Coltrane is like a hell of a soundtrack, It's pretty wild. Like harps and flutes and, string sections and stuff.
When you run over grandma.
Yeah, run over grandma. Listen to yeah, crazy.
That's funny. But what are, I guess, with you being in Omaha, who are some of the people that you've had the pleasure of working with that have come in and you've worked directly on their projects?
Yeah.
For people who don't know, like not just a guy, just I like DJing, like who, like you really work in the industry. Like what are some of the people you've worked with so far?
I've worked with a lot of people, and I really got to thank like Make Believe Studios. Rick Carson I like to say he was my mentor. He was like my sensei, for a very long time, and he still is to a lot of aspects, especially in music. And I think like my time growing with Make Believe, Rick has always been the person to like open up those doors because he's literally the smartest engineer I know. He's like the engineer's engineer. If you go online and you like name drop him, other engineers are like, yeah, man, that guy's a genius, And I literally spent like 10 hours a day with him every day for 10 years or something like that, like a long time. And so with that, like all these crazy people would come in through the door because like Rick is the dude, like he mix and masters everything. And then I would record everything for him to mix and master. So I spending my life in Make Believe and spending so much time in that studio, it was like really a blessing, and getting people through the door. Like Jay Prince, like you mentioned earlier, like he came all the way from London to come work in Omaha. Like he was working in LA, but then he heard about us in Omaha. He loved Rick's mixes. Rick was mixing a lot of his stuff. He mixed his stuff that was on 2K and all that stuff. Like, so when he came to Omaha to work, that was like my experience of spending X amount of days with him, just making his vision come alive. And we'd be in there, 10 a.m. to 3, 4 in the morning or whatever, just grinding. And he'd be in there, sometimes we'd just be sipping coffee, tea or whatever and talking about life. And then other days we're just cutting like 10 tracks in a day. Another cat, Dominique Sanders, like he's literally like one of my top favorite producers of all time. He's like me. He's like a hidden gem of life, but that dude's literally played with like everybody. Like I don't even want to like go out and say the names of the people because I don't want to like, but when I say like West Coast LA, like the top people call him to play bass on his records. I've seen videos of like people being like, yo, whose drums are that? They're like, yo, that's bass man. That's Dom. You're like, yo, this dude's hard. And like, yeah, Dom is crazy. Like this, just watching this guy work. He inspired me so much. He has a sound. And that's like something a lot of producers like strive for the whole life. Like me, and like, I want the Kethro sound. It's like Dom has a sound, and he like taught me his sound. So I've been creating like a branch off that with my stuff, because it's so soulful, and he's from Kansas City. So it just like got that, like Kansas City like swings. That's what I like to say. Like they just got that lean. Jidenna was another one. I got to work on 85 to Africa. That was a great record. It was cool to work with like the whole Wonderland, not the entire camp, but like Roman G. Arthur was in those sessions, and just like people I've always wanted to be around and hang around. And like, they were just like, that is the true definition of a well-oiled machine. Like those cats literally like just know how to like put their heads down and get to work. They like being in a Omaha, they didn't want to go and explore and try the food and that stuff. They were just like there to work, and they would from daylight to sunset, just programming, showing beats and ideas. And I'd be running around like just checking in and making sure like everybody's good. And then when Jidenna likes something, we put it in the, and then I'm just like recording, it's like editing and, just like trying to move super fast. So it's like, yeah, a lot of these artists, Terrace Martin has been to Make Believe a bunch, and he's done a ton of work in there, and learning from him. The guys like him and his father Curly are like gems of Omaha, and they've taught me and a lot of people in town a lot about this industry. Yeah, just like, and then like touring with people, man. I got to tour Jake One. That was a dream. That guy, like I grew up listening to his records, and I'm like chilling. I'm like working for this guy now, like doing his monitors, and like he's like one of the most like relaxed, great people in the world. And he's always down to answer questions. And I didn't really get to work with him like in a studio environment, but just like, yeah, it's just like, yo, he produced like Rick Ross records and stuff. Like I love like all the records he makes are so good, like people know him for like Macklemore and like the big hits, but I love him for like the super underground stuff, MF Doom, and like just all like the album he did with Freeway. Like that Freeway record is just like the programming on that is just so crazy. I'm just, yeah. So like, yeah, a lot of these people, man. And there's so many more people, there's so many, like over time, it just kind of became all a blur. And I would always just try to take like little things here and there. But I've worked with like opera singers, jazz musicians, and classical people, and country stars. And, just like being in a studio is like, that it's that life. Like we never pigeonhole ourselves into like one genre or style. It was always like every day was somebody different. Like Sput would come in and he'd bring in artists for a while. He was a drummer, and he played on To Pimp a Butterfly. He also like has his band Ghost Note, and it's just, the guy is just a wizard on drums. It's just crazy how good he is on drums. But like that, he'd be bringing in cats from like Germany and stuff like I would never hear, and then you could look them up and they're like on billboards and like crazy in Germany. And like I'm like, yeah, let's go get a steak, I don't eat steak, but like I'll take you to go get one. Like let's go. And like they remember me for that stuff. It's kind of funny. But yeah, man, it's like, yeah, it's what I've learned about like working with all these people though is like in being in a studio environment really helped like lift the veil on the fame part of things. And so now when I like work under people that are like well known and or famous or whatever, or like just respected for their work, like they are just people, man. Like, like if I'm out to dinner with said famous person, I'm never like freaking out anymore. There's very few people that like give me that feeling, but I do highly respect their work. So it's nice to just talk about them, about random stuff, but like they're always sharing gems, and they know like what it is. And, like a couple weeks ago, I was out with a big artist, and it was like a reminder of like, I kind of forgot like how famous this person was, because everybody just kept coming up to him and taking pictures and stealing them away, and like, hey, I can't wait to see your like it was just really crazy. And every time I was like, oh yeah, I forgot, like this dude is like mega famous. He was like just on this movie soundtrack, and he's just like all over the place, and he's on he's like one of the most respected musicians. And so that was a great learning curve, as I was like, okay, cool. Now that's a good thing for me. And I think it's a good thing for everybody. Like, I think if you're going to work in this industry, you can't like, don't get like caught up in the magic of it all. Cause that like will really kind of create this like really weird illusion. And like that whole like meeting your idols thing doesn't really work out all the time. Sometimes those like, luckily I haven't worked with anybody bad or that I dislike, but I've seen some things where it's like, damn, like that person got shut down or like that relationship does not work or whatever because the magic can't get lifted. You know, it makes people feel uncomfortable.
Yeah,
it's wild. Yeah.
So man.
Yeah.
More, and I know there's a lot more to come. Continue working. You're already out there, so
yeah, man. I try to stay busy.
What are some things that are coming up? You know, for you right now, like what's some things you're working on, or some things coming up that you can talk about? Anything like projects or gigs, or I guess Omaha Fashion Week.
Yeah, I mean, on the local level here in Omaha, I've been really focusing on Omaha lately. You know, like. You know, I think after 2020, you know, I was actually like really debating on changing my market and going somewhere else. Like, I think that was on a lot of people's minds. And I was teasing the idea. I was making a lot of phone calls. I probably spent half of 2020 on the phone, just talking to everybody, checking in, feeling it out. How are things in New Orleans? How are things in Atlanta? How are things in New York? Just like really trying to feel the temperature of these places and understand like where can my place be? And more, I just kept coming back to Omaha and being like, I should just like concentrate on this city. I've done so much. And a lot of people that I've noticed are starting to move here. Like a lot of my friends I've grown over time. Like my homie literally lived in Long Beach for the past like 25, 30 years. Just bought a house in Omaha because he kept coming here and was like, yo, I love this place. I'm like, yeah, man, just move here. It's cheap. Your house out there is $2 million. Like you can get a house for like $250,000 out here. Like save your money and like come like make your dreams happen. Then if you ever want to go back to LA, just hop on a plane, blah blah. And the more I kept saying that to people, I'm like, dang, I need to just stay in Omaha because it's like it's not, you know, growing stuff here is what it is. So with the projects coming up, like yeah, I'm very heavily focused on things here, and like yeah, I guess with Fashion Week and I've been doing a lot of projects with the Bemis center here and working with their music program and helping them manage their venue and and it's called Low End and they're really focusing on like trying to change or to like bring a new avenue for like experimental art and music and sound art, which is like a realm that I've always known heavily about but never actually worked in. So now that I'm just like helping them build this place and get it to like become this thing, and it's just have it be this well-oiled machine. And I think it's really great. So I've been putting a lot of my focus in that. And then, yeah, man, just making stuff, creating music with people, a lot of projects that I probably shouldn't talk about. So yeah. But I will say this, like a lot of things musically, sonically are coming. And, you know, a lot of people, I worked on a lot of music. Like I worked on, I think I calculated 2020, 2021, I worked on like 76 different records, like whole records. So when those come out, is up to the artist, but it's a lot of music. It's a lot of music. Like I recorded, so I like lost track. Like I had to like figure out like, oh yeah, I forgot I did that. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Those are coming out. Those 6 songs are still in the bag. So, you know, I just feel like the next few years, we're going to start seeing finished products and stuff come out from a lot of artists, and it's going to be an exciting moment for music. We're already seeing the explosion, right? Yeah. Like everybody was creating so much, and not every 2020 album, pandemic album or whatever, was good, but I think people got their energy, and it's been just killer. You know, some records are just really, really good, where others are like, dang. You had a lot of times at home and didn't really make a lot of good music. You know?
Yeah, it's good seeing like we're literally every week is something. It's a couple records, couple artists dropping.
Yeah.
Mainly moving out of the way for some of the artists.
Yeah.
You know, Beyonce coming, she get out the way.
That record's going to be crazy.
Yeah.
Like a lot of popular records. Like, yeah, you know, I got to admit too, like we can get on just short. That new Drake record was really good. And a lot of people hate on that record, but I get it. I had a guy come up to me the other day. So he's like, so is that house music? And, and I had to like realize like people don't know the history of like house music or even they don't even know like what's happening in Africa with this music. Like that, like literally all that is like,
it's all house.
That's all house.
Especially when you go to South Africa. It's turned up.
They're taking over.
Yeah.
Like that is the wave I'm trying to jump on. You know, I was working with this artist, another cat. He actually lives here. He's from Houston, actually. Jazz groupies, and like that's all he does. Like all of his records feature artists and people from all over South Africa, and he does all of his marketing in South Africa. So in South Africa, this record came out and it like charted, and it was like number 3 or 4 in the jazz charts for like a month, and it did really well. And then I was like really digging into the scene there. I'm like, yo, they're taking over like house music. It makes sense why Drake's like all over it, you know, because he went to London, did the grime thing. He went all of it. So now he's like with Black Coffee and the whole crew down there. It's like, okay, now like I get it. I understand like why he's bringing this to the top, because he's trying to find what the next revolution is going to be. And I really believe that what South Africans are doing with house music right now, it's going to become an insanely huge thing in the world. I'd give it like a year or two, and you're going to hear the biggest cities in the world playing that. You know, Tiwa Savage and you know, Beyonce did it with the Lion King record, right? A little bit, but it was like Beyonce's version of that. Like Drake parked it back a little bit and let all the producers like do their thing, and then he was like, "Text go green," you know, he's doing his Drake thing, you know, getting all Drake.
Yeah,
Drake, and I love it.
Drake lyrics over some house.
I like it. I think it's dope.
I personally like the album. I tell people this is the only first or second album I bought of Drake's.
Yeah.
Second one.
Yeah.
And the first one was Views.
Yeah.
This is another very musical album. So
yeah. His interludes on Views are the best.
Yeah.
But yeah, even like that record he did before this house record. What is that called?
Certified Lover Boy.
Yeah. Yeba's interlude. That song's crazy, man.
Yeah, man.
Even like in Kendrick's record too, man. I was like, what if Kendrick started doing house records? That's where my brain's at sometimes. He ain't doing that though. You never know.
Yeah.
Never know.
Dave might push go.
Yeah.
Dave Free might push go on that one.
Yeah.
Especially after he done spent some time in Ghana. Hey.
Yeah. He probably heard those rhythms and was like, all right, here we go. Yep. Here we go. You know, we need to start like, I want to see these pop artists really start going to Africa, man. They really need to start pushing that stuff. Like, I don't know what it is, but I just, you know, it just like blows my mind. Like somebody like Taylor Swift does a whole music video in Africa and it's got no black people in it, you know? And it's just like, there's like nothing like native about it. It's just like love story. But I was like, yo, if she like created music with those rhythms, it would be hard. But even like the whole world would love her at that point. She's good. She's a billionaire. It's fine. But
I think we're getting to it. I think our folks are getting to it, and it's that door is opening. And thanks to even whether you say Drake or even thanks to people like Burna Boy and WizKid who are already collabing with folks, so it's gonna open up avenue to come on that stage over there and do these things. So Mr. Easy and all those cats. So it's coming. It's coming.
It is, man. I got my fingers crossed because that's just like a wave that can't be slept on. Yeah, even like as a DJ, I play that stuff out. Like I play at this hotel here in town, and they got a nice pool and shit, and it's like super exquisite and high class. And I'll be playing those rhythms, just like, and I see people like instantly like, like it's like taking over their soul, and it's like they never heard it before. And I go, this is. I'm gonna get you.
Oh yeah,
I'm gonna get this on. This is the next hit. This is the next Hotline Bling.
Make sure you check out. You know MFR Souls?
No, I don't.
They're from South Africa. I found them because Boss was playing them on one of his posts or something. I was like, who is that? Yeah. And then I went and found them. I'm like, and all the rhythms same tempo, 115 ish, and you play that, they going crazy. So it's I think it's it's here. Yeah. It's just not everywhere. Right. So it's up to us to make it go. Yeah. So,
I wish music, I just think overall the pop tempo too needs to speed up a little bit more. Like it just needs to get a little bit faster. It's been real slow.
Yeah, it's been 70, but that's the trap. But it's artists once now that the big dogs are doing it, it's going to speed up. I think even getting back to your, 90 to 100s, which is like the soul swing music, groove music. Like those things are coming. You see the house movement coming. So it's speeding up. And there's a lot of people making a lot of more club music now. Yeah. And, Jersey club music is popping back up. Yeah. All these things. And people like Kethro gotten famous. So so I think it's coming, man. It's coming.
Fingers crossed.
We need higher tempos and higher vibrations in our clubs. Yeah. In our venues, especially where the world is. So I think people feel that, and the artists feel that, and they're like, all right, let's raise up a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. And like lately I've been like diving in deep in like in European music, the rise of like electronic music in Europe. And like what they did when they heard techno coming from Detroit and all these places. And like even like the jungle drum and bass movement in London. Like I remember watching videos in like 160, 170 BPM, just insanely fast rhythms and tempos. But these people are just like locked in. And I don't know what was the energy then. But then in the States you had, Woodstock 99, which is like pure chaos in its own way, and that was like rock, metal, still kind of fast, but real heavy, different. But like, there's just like, I don't know what was it about the 90s. Everything was it cocaine, maybe? I don't know. Yeah, probably like drug induced music. But like, I always think the popularity of drugs also have an effect on the tempo. Like
that's a whole thing I put in my course about based on. I can tell you what drugs are prevalent based on the music. Yeah, and that's especially in hip hop. Yeah, urban used to when the sounds were localized. Yeah, so I did whole sessions on that. They were like, really? I never thought of.
Yeah, like 2012 when everybody was like doing MDMA or something, and they're literally like just MDMA and water. That was like every song was just like Molly and water, Molly and water, Molly and water.
I go before that because again I'm from between Louisiana and Dallas. All bounce music is based off MDMA, all Molly. So that's they talked about jaws locked, pants full of that steel. Yeah, everybody walking around in black clubs with pacifiers. Yeah, like this is so like this is the tempo and it's going. So then the juxtapose that going down to Houston. Yeah. You got everybody slowed down. Lean. So and it's so it. I think it's there. Yeah, it's definitely there. And just overall, I think the tempo where people want to go, I think we're gonna raise it up because we've been in the rut a little bit.
We just need peaceful music. It's trying times right now. It's very difficult, but
it needs to be a release again, not a burden. The music needs to be a release. Right. Not stories of a burden.
Right, exactly.
Clubs. You know what I'm saying? Right.
Right.
So I think we're pushing back towards that.
For sure, man. Yeah. For sure. Well, fingers crossed, man.
Yes, sir. Where can they before we get out, where can they find you at, Kethro?
Yeah, you can find me. I'm all over social media. I do everything but TikTok. I'm not on TikTok for privacy reasons. But at Kethro, Kethro. I pretty much locked in that at everywhere except for the .com. Someone's trying to sell it to me for $4,000, and I'm not trying to do that. No way. But other than that, just that on social media. I try to keep people up to date on what I'm doing in the music world and upcoming shows and gigs, and I'm definitely planning on. I've been writing a lot. With hopes of performing a lot next year. So I'm like really just grinding that out. So definitely stay on top of that. I've been working on a lot of music. I don't know if that's going to be a form of an album or a project, but I know that it's going to be released to the world in some degree or capacity. And I'm lining up my chessboard and I'm making my moves so it releases the right way, and that it's definitely hits the listener. And I'll make sure that you get advanced copies of that so you can continue bumping that out in the clubs, man.
Send it to him.
Yeah, I appreciate you for that, man. Yes, Thank you, man. You really really, really respect that, man. Thank you so much for being a supporter of what I do and what a lot of cats in Omaha do, and like DJs in Omaha, like I wish they a lot more would play more local music and try to put it out on here, because that's how it expands. And you're just one of the few that really like champions that. So thank you, man.
Yes, sir. No problem. Appreciate it.
Yep.
We're trying to get out of here. Our little friend wants to show up.
Yeah, we got a moth flying around here. That's dope, though.
But yeah, man, we gonna get out of here for the evening, man. We appreciate you for stopping in and
thank you,
letting us know everything, man.
Yeah,
it's great, man. We wish you the best.
Thank you
in the future, and you know we always cross paths, so we gonna work on something.
Yeah, absolutely.
One of us gonna need something. Like yeah. We good. So, man, well, yeah, it's your host Giddy Jicky with it.
Yeah,
sure. It's your other host Johnny No Good.
Yep. See y'all later, man. Peace.
The beats, the flow, the rhythm. All movement starts from the streets.